Good morning, it's Nikki Thompson, and I'm excited to do this free workshop today. So, for those who don't know me, I have been running coaching and programs for women who are looking for more kind of pleasure in their life, more excitement in their life, and also talking to women who have gone through a big transition. So where their children have left home and now they're thinking, what do I do with my life? Or perhaps they've got young children and they're kind of starting to explore what does it mean to be this new woman as a mother. And I also support women who have gone through divorce or going through divorce. So that's what this workshop is all about today. Let me just make sure that the volume is good. Okay, there we go. So I'm really excited to be doing this workshop. At the moment, I live on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia, and we are in a 3-day lockdown at the moment. So it was the exact 3 days that my partner and I were meant to go on holiday. So we had everything organized. So the children are with their dad at the moment, and we've just had like total rest space, which has been quite nice. I would have much preferred to go to this gorgeous Abbey hotel that we'd booked out in the country, but you know, we've gone on bushwalks and we've just had a really nice kind of time at home. So I thought, why not do a workshop? Why not do this beautiful workshop today while we have a lot of people who are still at home for another day? And I wanted to really dive into life after divorce. And today I wanted to go through the different stages and what I did at each of the stages after divorce. So if you've gone through divorce, you'll know what I'm talking about. There are kind of different stages where it's like it's just happened and you feel like you're on survival mode and nothing really that important matters except to just get through the day, take care of the children, and it's like, what do I need to do to kind of to rebuild my life? Where do I even begin? And then you kind of get through that stage, things start to kind of seem a little bit more normal. And then there's paperwork and dealing with all of that kind of thing. And then you have a different kind of energy involved in that space. And then you kind of get through that side of things, and then you get to a point where you're like, oh my goodness, I can rebuild. What do I even want? What do I want this to look like? What can I even do? And so there's kind of all these stages. And whether it's a legal divorce or just a separation from a partner and you weren't married as such, it's the same. You know, maybe there's not as much paperwork, but you still need to sort out finances and all of those kinds of things. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today in this workshop. So I wrote a book, The Wild Woman's Guide to Creating Your Best Life After Divorce. And it's available on Amazon. It's an ebook, so you can go and check that out as well. I would love for you to check it out because I go into more detail, not just about these stages, but about the daily activities that I did at each of, like, to create the life that I have now, which I freaking love. So it's about all of the different elements. But today I wanted to kind of talk to you about my kind of how I experienced the different stages post-divorce, and now what am I doing from this point forward to create that life that I have in my head, that vision, that kind of element of, you know, rebuilding and excitement. So I wanted to share that with you today. So as you're joining, I would love for you to say hello and let me know where you're from. If you are watching the replay, then thank you, welcome. You can ask all of your questions in the comments below. Just pop them in there. I will come back and check the answer them for you. Or you can send me a message on my page with Nikki Thompson, which is probably where you're seeing this, but maybe not. But come and send me any of your questions via Messenger as well. I'm more than happy to answer them. So let's get started. And just quickly, because I thought this was quite funny. So this morning it's raining here at the moment. So it's beautiful. It's just this gorgeous constant mist of rain. And I was sitting outside just in like full hoodie, track pants, Ugg boots, blanket, and journaling. Hot chocolate is just gorgeous. I put some photos on my stories, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I need to like get dressed. I need to look presentable to the world because my hair was everywhere. I washed it last night, so it was kind of all frizzy and just everywhere. And yeah, I'm like, I can't turn up in a hoodie. So I've actually still got my track pants on. I've just changed my top, put some jewelry on, a little bit of lipstick, and I thought, you know what, I think this is pretty good. And I did see people kind of talking about, you know, when they do have to go back to work, can they wear their like tights to work because that's so comfy? And I think people's like expectations of what they can wear to work may be dropping. So that's quite interesting as well. You know, just wanted to feel a little bit presentable here today. Through lockdown, I still shower every day. I still put my jewelry on every day. I still like to get dressed in something fun. However, yesterday was not the case. We ended up going for a bushwalk in the morning. I stayed in that outfit pretty much all day and just sat on the couch all afternoon. I was particularly anxious. Like when you know, with all of the stuff that's happening, I don't know what's going on. You know, we don't know what's happening the next day. I was feeling really anxious. And when I feel really anxious, I tend to look on social media. Like, and I'm not even actively, you know, messaging people, or I'm not even liking, or I'm like just mindlessly scrolling. And I don't know why I do it, you know, and it's something I'm kind of diving into with my habits. And it's something I'm trying to get out of. But what I notice, particularly when I'm anxious, like I will scroll and eat. So that's my things. But today that's not been the case. It's been a very beautiful morning, and my energy, I feel really good in this space right now. And I feel like this is a perfect time to do this workshop. So let's dive into it. So this all started, my book and the concept of this workshop. It all began because the number of women I've been talking to recently around divorce has increased dramatically. And I remember many years ago when I was first separated from my now ex-husband, it was, you know, there was like, oh yeah, I'm going through divorce right now. Oh, I'm going through divorce too. And it's like there was a whole group of us mums at the school car park all going through divorce. And none of us knew, because it tends to be like this secretive, like a lot of shame kind of layered on top of it. And it's you feel isolated. You feel really lonely. And the only person that you used to talk to was your partner. And now you don't know who to talk to. You don't know what to say. You know, even my friends, I was kind of back and forth, and, you know, they wouldn't know where the story was up to because things are always changing so dramatically. But, you know, even the people that I associated with, no one knew what was going on, because there was this whole story of shame around getting a divorce. And I dive into this in my book because it is such a big part of divorce, especially for women. And this is, you know, I can only talk from my experience being a woman, is that there seems to be even more of a shame story around a woman getting a divorce, because it's like, well, what is she going to do now? You know, he was making the money, or, you know, there was that stability, or what did she do wrong? You know, maybe she let herself go after having children, or whatever it was around why the divorce happened. And unpeeling these shame stories is one of those first pieces that we need to work through when going through divorce or separation, because the shame holds us back, you know, and when we start to talk about it, we can unravel that shame story, and we can kind of own our story and move forward in a positive way. Because if we're feeling all that shame and not wanting to talk about it, not tell our friends and family the whole story or really what's going on, because when it comes to divorce, you know, there's always going to be two sides to the story. There's always going to be two people involved in this divorce. And it's very difficult to move forward if you're holding shame around it. Even just asking for the divorce, there's more sympathy for the other party who didn't want to get divorced, perhaps, or there's all those kinds of things happening. And it's about owning our story. And for me, one of the biggest things was that I remember thinking I deserve to be happy too. And not that I was miserable in my marriage. We had a beautiful marriage. We just had issues like everyone who does get divorced. And he and I are now very good friends. We see each other regularly when we're handing over the children, or we do family catch up, things like that. But it's taken us a number of years to get to that point, but it is possible. And there were a long period of time where I never thought that was possible. So the shame stories is something that we need to work through ourselves, whether it's with a professional, psychologist, counselor, divorce support. There's a lot of free services actually available in Australia. I'm not sure about other countries, but there are like Relationships Australia. They can help you with free counselling to help you move through a lot of this stuff, but moving through their shame story and unraveling that. Now, one of the things, I love personal development. Like, that's my all-time favorite thing to talk about. I love talking about, be your best self and all that kind of thing. But I also know I come from a state of privilege. I come from this beautiful space of where I haven't really had to go through a huge amount of struggle in my life. I've definitely had a lot of struggles of standard life struggles, but I haven't had as many obstacles put in front of me as a lot of other people do. So I speak from this space knowing that privilege, and I'm so grateful for that privilege, but I'm more grateful for the fact that those obstacles weren't put in my way. And therefore, I love to support women who have more obstacles than I have had to face, because I want them to have an incredible life as well. And that's why my book is available for free for women who can't afford the book. So if you want to get access to it, you just need to email me or send me a message, and I will happily send that through to you. But I feel as though unraveling those shame stories, we all have our own reasons why they're there. It might be from family who have, looked down upon divorce. It might be through religion or culture. It might be from a financial perspective. It's like, there's shame around whether you were the main breadwinner and now he isn't having any money, or she, or whether they were the main breadwinner and now you need to kind of work out what you're going to do there. It's like there's or whatever happened throughout to cause the divorce, or during the divorce, there can be shame stories around that. So it's about understanding where those stories are coming from before we can actually unravel them. So journaling is a great way to start to unravel that. For me, anyway, it could be journaling through writing it down into a journal. Sometimes I love to put my headphones in and do audio recordings on my phone, and it just helps me to process those thoughts. It's like kind of talking to a really good friend, but it's me, expert advice, right? And it's helping me process those thoughts and ideas. And I don't really listen to these recordings again. I quite often delete them. But it just helps me process these thoughts and understand, because once you start to talk or write, it can start to unlock deeper layers of these stories and these beliefs that we have that we didn't know that they were there. We didn't know that they were holding us back. We didn't know that they are actually creating a life that perhaps we don't want. So the very initial stages is kind of unraveling the shame stories in order to move forward. That's the very first thing that I started to do. I owned my part. I took responsibility for my part. We both apologized for the hurt that we'd caused to each other. We both, this happened initially. It was like kind of, things are through mediation, but then years later, we're also apologizing on a much deeper level of our own part and our own hurt that we caused the other person. So that wasn't possible until I could unravel the shame around getting a divorce, and then also unraveling my own beliefs around, what this means and what it looks like and what my life will now look like moving forward. So that was kind of the first stage. And then I moved into like this deep, very, animalistic kind of survival mode. I just wanted to get through each day. I had no energy available. I was exhausted beyond belief, mentally and physically, emotionally. Every element of me was exhausted. 3 young children, and 2 of them weren't sleeping through the night still. And I just had to get through the day. So my only focus was on having a shower and making sure my children were fed. That was pretty much it. I then started to look at, okay, financially, how am I going to make this work? Again, we're in a very privileged way in Australia where we have financial support through the government. So it was like working out through the masses of paperwork involved and working out how do you do that? How do you apply for all of these things? And, I'd been running my business, and now I was at a point where I just couldn't even concentrate on my business, and I needed more stability. So then once I was getting through that survival stage, I also knew I needed to get a job. So I did that and applied for that and got a great job that was quite supportive, and allowed me to start to set myself up a little bit. And this was a really difficult time, and to be honest, a lot of it is a blur. If you have children, it felt like I was in the newborn phase where I wasn't really sleeping enough, I wasn't taking care of myself enough. It was just I needed to get through the day, and I honestly don't know how I held down my job at the time. It was very full on, and then a lot of other stuff was happening. So it was kind of, my energy was purely on survival and my children, and that perfectionist element inside me had to go away. She bailed. I had to get rid of her because we couldn't live in the same headspace at the time. I had to let go of the perfectionism because I didn't have the energy to do that. I only had the energy for survival. And that is a space where I see a lot of women get to after divorce, in the early stages. However, I don't want you to stay there for too long, because when we stay in survival for too long, that we then stay there for longer and longer and longer, because the longer we're there, the harder it is to get out of it. However, I was probably there for nearly a year, and that year was exhausting. But after that year, I started to kind of take care of myself a little bit more. I started to build up a little bit of savings, which made me feel like I was adulting better. I felt like I had a little bit more stability. And then from there, I started to go for my daily walks again. This is something that I've always loved. I've always enjoyed my morning walk. And so I started doing that again. And I started reaching out to friends again. I started kind of peeking out of my little hermit space, but not for too long, because I felt that was really exhausting still. But this was kind of the start of that next phase of kind of being like, okay, things can change. I can move forward. And at the same time, we're going through, paperwork and custody orders and all of this kind of stuff, which again is expensive and exhausting. So I was still a little bit in survival stage, but transitioning out of it to rebuilding. So then I started to rebuild. It's like, okay, this is the tricky part, because I'd been in survival for a while, that I didn't even know I could visualize something better. Like, I didn't even know what kind of life I really wanted. What did it even look like? And so I started kind of diving again back into the personal development world, because while I was in survival, none of that mattered. It was like basic food, it was basic movement, it was basic TV, my job, getting the children to school and daycare, and that was it. And then I started to, listen to podcasts, and I started to think about my ideas. I've always been an entrepreneur. I always will be an entrepreneur. That's what I love. I love to share. I love to teach. I love to support women to have their best life. That is my passion. And so I started to listen to more podcasts and read some more books. And I started to feel like myself again. But in a better version, like Nikki 2.0. I just felt so... I started to breathe. And I actually painted this giant mural. Wonder if you can see part of it. There we go. It's like this huge mural on my wall in my office, and I painted it, and for me it was this symbolism of freedom that I could just paint. I do own the house, so I'm not renting, so there was no legal ramifications there, but I painted this giant mural on my office wall, and I just loved it. And it was like, oh my God, I want more of this. I want more creativity. I want more excitement. I want more fun. And that's when I started to dive into pleasure and purpose and vibrations, and in a woo-woo way, and in a like, oh my God, this is scientific. Like when I started to look at how my life could be, I started looking at all the different areas of my life that I really wanted to have a bigger vision for. So that was my health and fitness. That was my connection with my children. So we started going on camping trips. We started going on short getaways, as opposed to thinking, shit, I can't afford like a multi-$1,000 week-long trip somewhere, but we can go away for 4 days to the local campsites. And the kids had a ball, and I started really, really reconnecting with them again on a deeper level. And we started having a lot more fun. We started going to the beach more. And these were the things that kind of happened once I got out of survival mode. And we started to have a lot more fun. And I started to make my environment look a whole lot better. So I bought new linen for my bed. I got indoor plants. Yes, I'm one of those women, which you can see. Oh, I just yanked on that. See one of my babies here. And then this is a sculpture of a naked woman, and then my crystals up here, and I've got my crystal lamp, my candles, and this for me is creating beauty in my environment. Inspires me to take action for the life that I want. And I started to feel energized, because we as women, we hold the energy of our homes, whether it's just us living in it or other people living in our homes. We hold that energy. And I started to, I wanted the energy to shift. I wanted the energy to rise in my home. And so this was like the beginning stages of a big life, a bigger life than what I'd ever imagined. So I went through that survival stage. I started to transition into rebuilding, and now I'm like, okay, I am doing things bigger and better. And so I have diffusers, essential oil diffusers around my home. I feel good. I feel like this is the life I really want. And so I started doing that in all parts of my home. I created this beautiful office. This room was empty for a long time, completely empty. It's a big ass room as well. It was completely empty. I had the door closed. I didn't want to go in there because this was my ex-husband's office. And I just couldn't go in there for a long time. And so once I started to rebuild, that's when I decided to do this painting. And I bought this gorgeous new desk and this bookshelf behind me, and I started to make it my space because I'm like, okay, this is my life. Let's do this. And the kids, we renovated their rooms. We all went out shopping and picked out new linens for them for their beds. And my son got like a bunk bed for his birthday. And, you know, we started to like look at all parts of the home to make it feel like us now as a little family. And things started to really improve from that space. So it was a matter of like working with the energy that I had at different stages after divorce, and then building on that energy. So I didn't feel like I had enough energy in the early stages to do much at all except get by and do the bare minimum. And then as I started to have more energy, as I started to process things, as I started to recover emotionally, that's when I started to rebuild my best life. But it doesn't start straight away. You know, you have to give yourself grace and compassion and be where you are. And then some days I crash, you know, and I honor that. I honor that energy that I'm in that space. So it's a bath. It might just be literally watching Netflix for a night, you know, whatever it is, to honor that. You know, it's not like this smooth ride, you know. Grief of going through divorce is like, it's not like this smooth ride where you just start low and then start to recover and feel amazing, and it's just like this. It's more like this roller coaster of up and down, and it's about honoring that, the highs and the lows, and taking advantage of the highs. You know, when I'm feeling amazing, that's when I start to put more things into place. That's when I start to take more action. And when I'm feeling like shit, I honor that and I rest and I recover. And I don't know, we just had a bit of a gap there. And when I'm feeling like shit, I don't push myself, because quite often how I felt before was that if I wasn't 100% on all the damn time and doing all of my great habits all the time, I felt like I was failing. Now I honor, and this has taken practice, and this is one of those key elements of rebuilding after divorce or going through any major transition, even into motherhood or when the kids leave home. One of the key skills is learning to honor where you're at in the moment, but not always believing everything you're thinking, because our mind can play tricks on us regularly. And I dive into this in my book, which you can check out as well. But when we are constantly in a state of believing everything we're thinking, we don't always take the action that we should be taking in that moment. We can, you know, when I'm feeling like shit, I don't believe the thoughts that are going through my head of, oh, you're no good. Oh, you're not good enough. Oh, you'll never be happy. Oh, you'll never have this. Like, that shit can go through my head, but I don't believe it. But when I'm feeling that, I honor, okay, I'm exhausted. I need a break. I need to chill. Sometimes that has to wait until the kids are in bed. Sometimes I can just go have a bath. Sometimes I will jump in the shower and have a quick shower, wash my hair, or I'll go outside and have a cup of tea. You know, there's a few things that I do now that I can, you know, honor that space, but not dwell in it and stay there in that negative kind of headspace. And that's a really important skill to have as you start to rebuild, especially if you want a life bigger and better than you've ever had before. And one of my core beliefs is that my life gets better and better. As I get older, life just gets better and better. I know some people believe that, oh, once you hit 30, everything's downhill, or once you hit 40, everything's downhill, but I fully believe that everything gets better and better. My life will just continue to improve. And I am learning new skills at each stage of my life that I take with me. And one of those skills is not believing every thought that I have in my head is true, and honoring the emotions. You know, I don't have to just push through. I'm an emotional woman. I really am. And that's a good thing, because I honor the emotional state that I'm in at each point. So now, once you've gone through the survival stage and you kind of start to transition into that rebuilding stage, and then you start to move into that, fuck yes, this is my new life stage, that's when things can really improve. And that's when you really start to open up and realize that you deserve an incredible life. Open up and realize that you can have that as well. That's that next level. So in that level, that's when you start to learn these skills of managing your energy, honoring different emotions, but not believing every thought that you have. You start to surround yourself with like-minded women and men, and start to be more mindful of the toxicity that could be in your social media feed, in your inbox, in the books or things that you're listening to regularly. You start to make more of a proactive choice in the direction that you want to go in. So you start to, you really become the key holder to everything that you're absorbing in your life. And that's really, really important. That's when magic can really happen. So that's where I feel like I dance between that stage and that rebuilding stage, because I'll go through this and then something will happen and I'll start to question things, and then it's just a lesson and I'm looping back and then go up to the next level. It's like, it's like a game, life is a game, and we're just kind of going to the next level. We'll learn something here that will then take us to that next level up here, and then continue. So it's a beautiful journey and it's a shit journey all at the same time. As I said before, it's like this roller coaster of emotions and of being, and I don't know where you're at right now. I don't know where you're at exactly, but that is where you're meant to be. And I want you to be open to the idea that you deserve the best life that you want, and you can make that happen. And I just feel that, there's not enough support out there for women. There's not enough support where you don't feel judged, where you don't feel like you shouldn't want these things. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm creating what I create. I have a new online course coming out, Wild Woman's Guide to Life After Divorce. It's an online course. It's a group course. It's going to be live, and it'll go for 3 days. It'll be a 1 hour session every day for 3 days. We're starting it next week. Send me a message or leave a comment in below if you want to join in. It'll be $77 to join. You'll have lifetime access to it. It'll be hosted inside a Facebook group. It's really simple. You don't have to learn any new technology to join in, and you can go at your own pace. You can join us live and ask questions, or you can watch it later and leave questions in the comments of the live videos. It's going to be in a private little Facebook group, so no one else can see it unless they're in the course. And this is a basic course to help you understand some of the key concepts. I'm going to be diving deeper than what I did into the book. I'm going to be giving you more examples. I'm going to be sharing my own experiences, and the women that I work with, some of their stories as well, without sharing their names. But, if this is something that you want to do, I invite you to come and join in. Just send me a message. I'll send you a link. It's really simple to sign up. As I said, it's $77 to join in. If that financially is too high for you, then I urge you to check out my book. You can find that linked on my website, nikkithompson.com. You can buy the book. It's $5.99 Australian dollars. It's an ebook. You can check it out. But this course kind of extends on that and gives more the book gives a lot of practical advice, but this will give you kind of more personal stories and support, because I want to give you some accountability for you to be able to create this new life. And then I have a couple of spots available for women who want to do one-on-one. So if you want to do a weekly call, it's a 30-minute call every week, and I can help you and talk you through a lot of this work and help you move through those stages, because I know that's where a lot of women would prefer to be. You can do both. You could do both the course and one-on-one, or just one-on-one. It's up to you. But those VIP spots are also available, and you have 3 spots available at the moment. So if you want one of those, please send me a message and I can send you through the details. I want women to feel like this is their time now. I want to redefine what life is like after divorce. I want to redefine what life is like going through divorce, because life can be incredible. Life is meant to be incredible for everybody. And I feel like this is the work I'm doing, is to support women to get through this and to be that little village, like create that village of women who need us during divorce, because it's a very lonely and isolating space. And it's like untangling a giant spider's web and then having to recreate a life all over again. And it can be messy and exhausting and tough. So I'm here to support you. Send me a message if you have any questions. Send me a message if you want to join in. And I can't wait to see women on the other side inside this program. And good luck for everyone who is still in a lockdown at the moment. That includes us here. And definitely sending you lots of love. And I will talk to you very soon. All right. Bye.